All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about Chrome Dev Tools today. And going to take it a step farther than we've gone in the past and try to understand and master a little bit more of the debugging skills that Chrome Dev Tools allows us to have. And these are skills that are going to help you to work with your JavaScript code in the future. There are lots and lots and lots of things to know about JavaScript debugging, or just debugging in general, breakpoints and things like that. I'm only going to go over a few of the things. In fact, only 4 skills today. And really my goal is not to give you every single possibility out there, but try to give you the most important things that will enable you to take the next steps in your journey in JavaScript. So a lot of the concepts that I'm going to show you today are actually transferable to almost any programming language. Debugging is one of those concepts that transcends language. Every programming language out there has a way of sorts to debug. And when we say debug, we're not even talking about just looking for bugs. Debugging is just a very general term that means being able to work or step through the code and inspect the code at the code level while it's executing. So we want a program to be running while we are trying to debug. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I've got 4 things that I want to go over today. One of them is just using the console, the developer console in Chrome DevTools to be able to find bugs in JavaScript code. Now, if you've never used, I know you have, but if you had never used Chrome DevTools before, then you might not realize that the websites that we use every single day actually have bugs. They got plenty of bugs, lots of times. When I was preparing for this class, I thought, okay, I'll check out some really popular sites. And I think that maybe things have improved or maybe they're just embarrassed. So they've cleaned up the bugs. But I used to go to like Facebook.com and find all kinds of bugs in the developer console. You can see these. I mean, you don't even have to work for Facebook to go in and see their dirty laundry, their bugs in their own website. Google used to have tons of bugs all over the place, and I guess they've cleaned them up. I went through and I checked Facebook, I checked Google, I checked Yahoo.com, I checked YouTube, Twitch. I tried all kinds of different sites, just looking for one of these really famous websites to see if I can kind of air their dirty laundry in one of these classes. But no, they've cleaned up their act. So I found one which it's, I mean, bugs like this are normal, especially if the website just works. Sometimes the bugs are not really affecting functionality, so it might not be worth it to clean those bugs up at that moment. But I did find one, and just let the cat out of the bag. I found it in BuzzFeed, so not like top tier Google, Yahoo style or level, but definitely up there. I mean, it's people know about BuzzFeed, so yeah, I found some bugs there. I even checked my own website for Codex Academy, which is this website right here, and I thought surely I'll find some bugs here, and I thank goodness I didn't find any bugs. I probably would have been tempted to spend some time fixing those bugs because I don't want people to find them. But either way, I mean, you're going to have bugs in your applications. We all have bugs. Everybody has bugs, so it's not something to be embarrassed of, but it's definitely something to challenge us to get better and better and fix what we put out there. So I'll show you some bugs from BuzzFeed, and then we'll also go through and actually I create a little application that we can use to demonstrate how to debug and set breakpoints and things like that. So do you remember how to get into the developer console? Do you remember the keyboard shortcut for that? If you during this class, by the way, if you have any questions or comments, or if I ask you a question you want to respond, just pop it right there in that chat. The chat is a great way to communicate with me and other students. If I see your question and I notice it while I'm teaching, I may stop and go ahead and answer it right then, or I may just answer it after the class, or one of my staff may follow up with you. But if you've got a question, please ask it right there in the chat. Somebody will definitely get to it, either me or one of my staff. So yeah, if you remember how to start up the dev tools in Chrome, I'd love to know if you remember that keyboard shortcut. It's a really good keyboard shortcut. Let's I'll close this website and take a look at BuzzFeed. Oh, I've already got it open. That's cheating. Okay, so on my keyboard, let's see if I can. Yeah. Whoa. Lots of bugs, lots of bugs. Do you know what it was? Do you know what it is? The keyboard shortcut? All right, so on my keyboard, it is Command Alt. Oh my goodness, I can't even. J. Yeah. I do it so intuitively that I don't even remember what key it is. But yeah, it's Apple Alt J. Or if you're on the a Windows keyboard, I think you can do Windows Alt J. And I don't use Windows very often, so I don't remember what the keyboard shortcut is for that. But whatever system you're on, make sure you know what that keyboard shortcut is so that you can pull this control panel up really, really fast and easily. So let's take a look. I mean, right in here, it says up here at the top, it says 456 errors, 12 warnings. And then this other one over here is kind of like a performance issue kind of thing. So we won't focus on that for right now. We'll just focus on the console bugs. Lots and lots of bugs to look at. Lots of like DOM exceptions, uncaught DOM exception. When it says caught or catch, that's kind of the language that we use when we talk about detecting an error. It's almost like it's a bug in the air and we catch it. We're catching a bug or an exception, they call it also. If you ever hear the word exception, it's talking about like an exception to the rule. Somebody broke a rule. So that's where the word exception comes from. So this is a DOM exception. Blocked a restricted frame with origin BuzzFeed. So they've got something going on, maybe ads, who knows, is coming from this helpers.js. If you didn't already know this, you can actually click in to the file that it's talking about if it offers it, and you can actually see right here this is their JavaScript code. You can actually see all of their code. And right here, I mean, you can see what caused the bug. Ignore next on error. And then it starts going with this scope stuff, and you don't have to understand at this point what the code means, but you can also just see that this is where the bug happened. And you can hover your mouse over different elements, and it'll show you what they mean and things like that. That's kind of a cool feature. So this website has a lot of juicy bugs to look at. They might all be the exact same though. Let's see. Okay, this one is this content sticky manager.notify is not a function. So if I click on this index, okay, that's cool. So this callback apply must be causing a bug. It's inside of this larger function. Again, a lot of this stuff is kind of like it's written only for the developers to understand what's going on. You got all this listening and for each and callbacks and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff going on. You don't have to understand what it is at this point. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and I'm just going to see if there's something else that might be interesting. A lot of it is this helper stuff. A lot of uncaught exceptions. I want to see if there's something slightly different. Yeah, kind of the same error. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So I mean, it's almost like they have one really big error, but it just happens to run hundreds of times. So that's all right. BuzzFeed's still a good site. You should definitely try it out. So we'll just close that, and we'll take a look at some of my code here. So I just created this function really fast, this little code to see what we could do, what kind of mayhem we could cause. And so I want to help you understand how to find bugs in JavaScript code. And so for right now, I've got 1, 2, 3 lines in my code that will cause an error. Why is it going to cause an error? Well, because this is not valid JavaScript. It's just some text. Now, if I wanted to put some sort of message in my code, like to future developers or something, I might do a // so it makes it into a comment, right? So that's no longer an error. But I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the error in the code because I want to actually see what happens. Here's the execution of my code, and if I refresh this page, I'm getting this uncaught syntax error. Uncaught because I'm not catching the error. I'm not catching this exception in my code. If I could, that's for a different lesson, in a JavaScript lesson. But if I caught the error, then I might be able to do something with it instead of just letting it bubble up, as they say, to the level of the browser. So here is this uncaught syntax exception. Syntax exception, as you get better with programming, as you spend more time, you'll start to remember, okay, syntax exception, that means this. You'll start to remember what these errors mean, and you get used to it. You memorize them kind of just organically, and then just your brain goes right to where the fix should be. So if I have a typo somewhere in my code, I don't type everything in right. I've got an extra semicolon. I've got a misspelled something, whatever. Then a syntax error will happen. So that's what I have here. It's just this line causes an error, okay? And I can hover my mouse over this little element right here, and I can see that the syntax error happens right there. It says unexpected identifier, but that's because, it is because this is a keyword in JavaScript, but line is not, and it shouldn't be doing that. All right, so I've got 3 other places in this code that have errors. Why did they not? Why did they not get thrown? That's another terminology for errors in programming. Is you throw an error, and if you think about it, that's kind of like baseball. You can throw a baseball and you can catch a baseball, and in this case, we can throw an error and you can catch an error. So this line throws an error, line 12. But for some reason, line 15 and line 22 don't throw. Do you know why? If you know why, put the answer right there in the comments and see if you can beat me to the answer. See if you can say it before I tell you what the right answer is. So let's just see. Let's see what happens. If I were to comment out this error, back over here in my code, I'll comment out the error, and then I will save. And now, if I refresh, now I have, this is no longer an error. Now this is the error. So again, why is this being thrown and not the other one? Well, it is because errors like syntax errors will generally stop all execution. So when JavaScript code executes, or when it interprets it, when it reads it into memory and it starts to want to process it, it's going to read it from the top to the bottom like it's reading a book. And when it finds that error, it's just like your English teacher that wouldn't let you off the hook for even one little problem in your term paper. They find that first error and we got to stop. Can't do this anymore. That's what JavaScript is like. It's not going to keep on going and mark all the rest of your errors like your English teacher would have. This one is even worse. It's going to find that first one and it's just going to stop everything. So if you've got 3 syntax errors in your code, it's going to stop at the first one. Then you fix that one, and then it's going to help you find the next one. And then you fix that one, and it's going to help you find the next one. So it's like it's like a validation. It's going through and trying to validate your code to make sure that it's runnable, and then it's going to tell you, but only one at a time. So it it can be really annoying that you fix one and then you find another one that's just the same way. So let's take a look at another thing. This is a syntax error. Now let's cause a runtime error. One thing that you cannot do in JavaScript is you cannot divide by 0. You actually can't do that in any programming language. Dividing by 0 is just not even a possibility. So let's just do it, you know. I'm going to say console log, which is a way to get messages out to the console. And I'm going to say 100 divided by 0. All right, no error yet, right? I'm going to paste this problem into a few places. All right, so I've got 3 places now where this error is going to happen. It's here, here, and here. And when it tries to run that code, it's gonna fail. All right, the only thing is in JavaScript, if you do this, it's going to give you infinity. It actually doesn't throw a real error. I forgot about that. So it actually, but it only runs twice. Let's actually look into this. Why is it only running twice? In this, it only gives me 2 error messages, infinity, infinity. It should give me 3, right? Why doesn't it give me all 3? It seems like it's skipping this one right here. Well, that is because this code right here that is coming from line 15 down to line 19 is actually what I would say is inside a function. How do I know that? Well, aside from having seen this, I don't even know how many times. That's one way I know. But this right here, this little thing that I selected up here, and then this thing at the end, where those curly braces, this little construct with the parentheses, EV parentheses, and then that little arrow, equal, greater than, and then the curly brace, and then the curly brace on the end. That right there is a function. And functions, in order to be executed, in order for it to read that code in and actually run it, something has to act upon it. Something has to make it run. And you know, this is not a JavaScript course, but if you want to know more about what's going on here, I've got an update button, which is right here, and I'm telling it to add an event listener. I want it to listen. This little line in 14 is going to listen to the right here click event. It's going to listen to that until somebody clicks, and then it's going to run the function, the code that's inside of the function. So if you look here, I've got 1 console log, 2 console logs. Both of them produced an infinity error, which is not registering completely as an exception. It's just like almost a warning. But if I click this update button, it's going to do it again. Watch. See that? That third infinity is because of line 15. It kind of ran out of order, right? It ran from here to here to here. Then it skipped the whole function. It went from here all the way down to here. Then here. That's how it executed. And then when I clicked the update button was listening for the click. When it heard me click it, then it ran the code at line 15 inside. That's how it. That's a little bit about a JavaScript execution flow. It's actually something that works in almost any language the same way. But this is why it didn't put the third one in there from the beginning. So if I click the refresh button, it'll give me just 2 infinities again. So this time I'm going to try to cause a real error. I'd rather see like a console, a real error there. So let's say, okay, yeah, I've got an idea. So I'll say document, which is a real object that exists. Then I'm going to say monkey dot foo. All right, so that is going to cause an exception or an error. Let's just see it in action. Okay, uncaught type error. Cannot read properties of undefined, reading foo. So we're trying to read foo, but the thing that foo is after is undefined. That's basically what it's saying. It's saying that monkey is undefined. And when undefined, by undefined, it means that it doesn't exist. So monkey doesn't exist. Document exists, monkey does not exist. If I go down here in the console and I type in document, it's going to give me something back. I get a document back. But if I type in document.monkey, it's going to give me undefined back. See that? And then if I say document.monkey.foo, gives me the same exact exception. See that? Just a different place. So right here, I've got this exception, and it's only happening one time. Now, this is actually an interesting thing. I'm going to show you what happens, but is it throwing this exception like the syntax error because it's the first exception that it found when it read the JavaScript when it interpreted the JavaScript? Or is it throwing it as the first exception because it executed, because it was running? So what do you think? So let's actually try an experiment, just like we did before. I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to comment out the first exception. So that leaves this one and this one. So I've got this that's going to throw an exception at line 15 and another one at line 22. Let's rerun the code. All right. So now, unlike the syntax error, the actual exception was thrown at line 22. Why didn't it throw it at line 15? Well, just like I was saying before, because lines 15 through 19 are actually inside of a function that's part of a listener, and that listener has not yet been executed, then our exception hasn't been executed either. Now I can click this update button, and it gives us our exception. So this is where this came from line 15. You see that 15 right there, and this one came from line 22. So this is I can even cause this exception to happen a few times. See that number right there, 4. I make it 5. So every time it's the same exact exception in the same exact place, it will actually increment that number so it doesn't like fill up your console with the same exact error every time. So this is, hopefully you're getting some of the signal flow, the execution flow here too. It'll help to understand how debugging works. Now this is just how bugs work in Chrome. So let's take a look at how we might be able to set a breakpoint to actually stop execution in its tracks and be able to actually like inspect little things about our application. So if you hover your mouse over in Chrome over the line number, you've seen me doing this a few times. I click the line number and it makes this little blue mark out to the side. That blue mark is a breakpoint. It's going to, when I rerun the code, like if I refresh the browser, it'll rerun the code. When it reruns the code, it'll actually stop right there. Not after, so first it reads all the code in, and so any syntax errors will get caught at that point. But then it starts to run the first code. This is called runtime. Runtime execution. And if you have a bug during your runtime, an exception during your runtime, then it's called a runtime exception. That's a difference between compile time. Compile time exception is when it actually reads in the code. So if you have an exception that is like a syntax error, it's going to happen at compile time. But if you've got a bug that is only, you can only find the bug if it actually executes something, that is a runtime exception. Do you see the difference right there? Runtime versus compile time. So here I've got a breakpoint. Breakpoints work at runtime. So I can put a breakpoint on pretty much every line that's executable. I can't, like I tried to put a line or a breakpoint on the comment line, but it won't let me. It just puts it on the next line. Now I can put a breakpoint on every single line if I wanted to, but it's not really necessary. I'm actually just going to put a breakpoint on the first line, and I want to show you what happens. So if I click the refresh button, no more exceptions, no exceptions at this point. As far as our little program is concerned, it's bug free. It doesn't know about the bugs yet because it hasn't executed them yet. So when you can see here, we have stopped. The execution has stopped. I don't have hello world on my screen over here because that gets set later at line 21. I do have an update button, but see that came from line 8. We can see here it says paused on endpoint over here on my right. And I've got these little buttons up here that are interesting. So if I hover my mouse over them, it'll tell me what it is, and it'll also give me a keyboard shortcut, which is kind of nice. So this says step over next function call. This one says step into next function call. This one says step out of current function, and this one says step. So I'm going to focus on the first 3 buttons. So I've got this one that is resume script execution. So if I just click this, it just continues as if there was no breakpoint after line 10, or it continues till the next breakpoint if I had another one. So I'll do that right now. Actually, I'll put a breakpoint right here, and I'll refresh. So now I hit my first breakpoint. I'll click the resume button, which is also on my computer, it's Command/ or the F8 key. And it goes to my next breakpoint. You can see now in my browser, I've got my goodbye, which is coming from line 13. I have not yet executed line 21. So it has not yet set that to hello world. It's interesting. So line 13 and line 21 are almost identical, except that line 13 first sets it to goodbye, then line 21 sets it to hello world. I haven't executed that yet, so it's still goodbye. You seeing that? So if I click on either one, if I click on step into or step over, it's just going to go right over line 21. It's going to execute it, and it's going to stop at the next line. It will not execute the first line, or the line 22. So watch this. I have not executed line 22 yet. Line 22 has an error in it. My little application is not yet aware of line 22 having an error in it because it's a runtime error and it hasn't run yet. So if I click this button to step over again, it runs that line of code and we've got our bug. So one thing that's fun when you're debugging is when you find a line that has a bug, you know it's got a bug, but you're not sure why yet. Then what you can do is you can actually set the breakpoint on the line that has the bug. And it'll stop it right there before it actually executes it. So let's try that. I've got my breakpoint on line 22. I'm going to refresh. No bugs. It stopped on line 22. And now I can inspect the different things that are going on here. I can, if I hover my mouse over something, then it'll tell me what it is. And, this is, again, not a JavaScript course right now, but I can hover my mouse over some of the different things and it'll tell me, maybe it'll tell me that it's not valid or something like that. So I can hover my mouse here and, okay, it gives me this document, and then I can come over here to monkey and I can hover my mouse there. Okay, it's not telling me anything. Okay, maybe that's the problem. If I hover my mouse here, shouldn't monkey have some sort of value? It does, but it doesn't. It should show me something. And so that's a clue. That shows me that this might be the problem. And so, yeah, at this point I can maybe go back to my code, I can fix the bug, and then I can move on with life. So this is how breakpoints work in this kind of in the scope outside of a function. So the reason why I say this is the global scope, or the outside of the function scope, it's usually called global scope, is that I'm right here in the script tag, and it's running this code that's not inside of a function at all. It just, every time I refresh the page, the code runs, the code runs, the code runs. It executes this stuff every single time. So I'll resume this and I'll show you. If I just click, I'll get rid of that one right there. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Oops, sorry, this refresh button. If I keep on clicking refresh, it will always execute lines 10 through 13. It technically executes 14 also, but not the function inside of it. And then it resumes at 21 and 22. It will always execute that code. It's in the global scope. Now, this code is in the function scope. It's in the scope of this function, this no-named function. It's called an anonymous function. So this code is in a different scope, almost like a different universe or a different world than this code. You could also think of it, it's a little bit trippy, but you could think of it as like time traveling. Like right here, we're telling what's going to happen in the future. And it hasn't happened yet, and it won't happen unless something causes it to happen. But once that thing happens, this code's going to run. So this is the function scope, and this is the global scope. And so if I want to, I could create a breakpoint that only executes inside of this function scope. So then if I refresh now, my breakpoint still doesn't get hit. I don't have any breakpoint there at all. Or I have a breakpoint, but it's not stopping at that breakpoint. Now, if I click the update button, remember, it's got a listener. It's listening for the click button. There. Now my code stopped, because now that function is running. And so now it's stopped at the breakpoint. And I can go in just like before. I can inspect all these different little things. I can even go back and inspect the value of other things that maybe don't even exist yet. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's the difference between setting a breakpoint inside of a function scope or in global scope. So if I put a breakpoint here and I refresh, which one do you think is actually going to run first? Would it run line 22 first, or would it break at line 22 first after I refresh, or would it break at line 15? Let's just see. Aha, so it broke or paused at line 22. Why is that? Line 15 came before 22. Yes, in the code, but in execution path, it came after. In fact, it hasn't even happened yet. Line 15 hasn't happened yet. I'm going to click the update button. Wait, I can't, because I'm still paused right here. If I'm paused, and it even tells you right here, paused in debugger. If you're paused, it won't let you do other things inside of the browser window. I've got to continue. Now I can click the update button. Now it stops at my line 15 breakpoint. See how that works? All right, so there's another thing that you can actually do, which is, it's fun. Let's try it out. So I'm actually going to remove these little pesky bugs. I'm going to go back over to my code, and I'll show you what I actually was doing with my little application here. It was kind of fun. Get rid of these comments, and then get rid of, let's see, do I get no more errors, right? Yeah, looks good. All right, so I'll go back over here, and I'll refresh. Looks like I may have a breakpoint. Yeah, I've got some breakpoints that are kind of like hanging on for dear life. So I just clear them out, and I can refresh again, and my program app runs perfectly. Except there is that bug, that exception that I put in there. According to my screen, I don't have that bug anymore. Line 20. Am I just not seeing it? Line 20. there it is. It was right in front of me. I wasn't seeing it. That's what my wife says every time I can't find something that's around the house. It's right there in front of you. Okay, so in this little application, what's supposed to happen is it shows me hello world. When I click update, it asks me my name. See that? So I can type in Byron. And it asks me, hey Byron, hi Byron, what's your favorite color? And I'll say green. So then it says hello Byron, and it changes the color to green. Kind of fun, super simple. And it all happens in that last part happens inside of the function scope. So if I want to stop this right here before it actually changes the name, so I can put a breakpoint right there. So I can update. It's going to ask me for the name because that's at line 14. So I'll say now John. And John's favorite color is going to be red. All right, so I've stopped here. I have not made any changes yet to this H1 element. And so it stops here. I can go ahead and step over or step into. Either one is going to be the exact same in this case because it's not a function. If you notice, this says step over next function call. If this were an actual function, then it would then stepping over it would execute the function and skip over it to the next line in the same scope. But if I say step into, then it will go into the function. I'll tell you, most of the time, it's good to know the difference, but most of the time you're going to want to just do step over, especially in JavaScript, because sometimes when you step into and you don't know the function, it's not your function, you don't own it, somebody else's function. If you step into that function, you might get sucked into this world of magical code that nobody can understand anymore because it was written 20 years ago or something like that. It's just if you don't own the function, I don't advise you to step into it, especially if the code has been what's called obfuscated, which means they've taken the beautiful, well indented, nicely formatted JavaScript and they've put it all together in like one big compressed pile of code that executes perfectly, but it's completely unreadable by humans. So anyway, what I was trying to say is, in this case, I end up stepping over most of the time. If I step into, it's because I'm doing it very intentionally. So most of the time you're going to want to step over. If you want to step into a function, that's when you might want to step into. So F10 or command quote, I think. So I'll click here. All right, there it set the name, hello John. It has not set the color yet. I can step over again. There, now it set the color. See that? So now, what if I wanted to only cause a breakpoint if some condition is true? I can do that by, instead of just regular like clicking line 16, I can click it, I can right click it, and I can, or in my case on my Mac, I can double tap it with 2 fingers, and I can edit the breakpoint. So then it gives me this place where I can type in an expression. So I can actually give this a little like condition. Now this is where you do need to know a little bit of JavaScript. But you can actually just do what I'm doing here or something close to it. You can say name equals Byron, right? So name equals Byron. Oh, sorry, I can't do it with 1 equal. 3 equals. Use 3 equals. So if name equals Byron, stop here. Otherwise, go on your merry way. So I'll press enter. Now I've got this little question mark yellow looking breakpoint. If I want to change that condition, I can go right back in here and I can edit the breakpoint again. And then I can change that to whatever I need to. But for now, I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to refresh. Actually, no, I'll just click the update button because it's going to run this again. And it's going to ask me for my name. I'm going to say Hal. And then I'll say purple. All right, so it updated it. It updated the display to hello Hal, changed the color to purple, did not hit the breakpoint. Now let's try it again with Byron. Byron, no breakpoint yet. Say green. Ah, okay, now it hit my breakpoint. Why? Because now the value, look, if you hover your mouse over the word name, it shows you the value. This is what the user typed in. So you can actually get a glimpse into what the user has entered into the prompts. There's green. That's the value of color. So if I can hover over here and I can maybe if I'm not sure why there's a bug or I'm trying to figure out what's going on, you can actually hover your mouse over different things and see their values. And if it's a simple object like this, then it'll show you the value. If it's undefined or null, it might say that, or it might say nothing. So here we see that our breakpoint stopped because name equals Byron. So then I can either step over or I can just press resume and it'll continue executing. So then I'll try one more time and I'll say Ashley. And Ashley's favorite color is going to be yellow. Ooh, can't really see that, but there's the hello world or hello Ashley. It's yellow. Our breakpoint was not hit. It's because the conditions were not met. So these few skills, really, I just went over 4 different skills for Chrome DevTools, and really this is about all that you could possibly need in the near term. If you're still learning JavaScript, you're still learning web development, then for now, this right here is going to get you a long way down the road. There's just these 4 skills, being able to even access the console in the first place and find console errors, JavaScript errors, knowing that exists opens up a whole new world. You're going to love it. And then being able to set breakpoints in JavaScript, as long as the JavaScript is readable and it's not obfuscated, then you can actually get to it like we've done here, or like I did in BuzzFeed, and you can set breakpoints. And you can stop the execution, inspect values. If it's your code, it's super, super valuable. You can set conditional breakpoints, just like we did here. And also now, hopefully, you understand the difference between global scope and function scope, and being able to set a breakpoint in one or the other, and understand in which case it's going to actually pause on that inside the function. It's because the function was executing. So hopefully, hopefully you've been able to get your questions out. I don't know whether I've been able to answer all the questions that you've had throughout this class. If I haven't answered your question, rest assured I will, or my staff will come back to you and try to get your question answered at some point, either via email or chat, and we'll get to you. Hopefully this has been beneficial for you. My goal definitely is for you to be an ever better web developer, and with these skills today, you should be well on your way. I'll see you next time.